Welcome to our journey into the life and times of Alexander the Great. Before Alexander, there was Macedon, a rugged kingdom on the fringes of the Hellenic world, often dismissed by its southern neighbors. But within its mountains and plains, a unique warrior culture was brewing, one that would soon forge an empire unlike any seen before. This is the story of the land and the people who gave rise to legends. But before we can understand the man, we must first understand the world that shaped him, the kingdom from which he sprang, Macedon. Back in the early 4th century BCE, the Greek world was this vibrant mix of independent city-states, each bustling with its own unique culture and vibe. It was pretty wild. The glories of Periclean Athens were fading. Sparta's rigid dominance was waning after its defeat at Leuctra, and Thebes enjoyed a brief, brilliant ascendancy. These southern city-states, the heartland of Hellenic culture, philosophy, and democracy, often looked north with a mixture of disdain and apprehension. There, nestled north of Thessaly, lay Macedon, a kingdom geographically distinct and culturally unique. Unlike the sun-drenched coasts and olive groves of the south, Macedon was a land of harsh extremes. Towering mountain ranges like Olympus and the Pindus delineated its borders and crisscrossed its interior, creating isolated valleys and fertile plains. Winters were cold and snowy, summers hot and dry. Vast forests, rich in timber, a resource coveted by the shipbuilding southern Greeks, covered much of the land. These forests teemed with game, including lions and wild boar, fostering a culture of hunting that was central to Macedonian aristocratic life, a training ground for war. The Macedonian people were as rugged as their homeland. They were a hardy, Dorian-speaking Greek stock, though their dialect was considered rustic by Athenians. Their society was more tribal and feudal than the sophisticated urban centers of the south. Kingship was paramount, a hereditary, but not always smooth succession, often contested by powerful noble families who commanded their own regional followings and cavalry. These nobles, the companions of the king, were landowners, horse breeders, and warriors, bound by loyalty and a shared martial ethos. For them, valor in battle and loyalty to their king were the highest virtues. For centuries, Macedon had existed on the periphery. It was rich in natural resources, but politically fragmented and militarily vulnerable to incursions from its northern and western neighbors, the Illyrians, Paeonians, and Thracians. These were formidable, warlike peoples who frequently raided Macedonian territory, demanding tribute or seeking plunder. Consequently, primitive Macedonian life was one of constant vigilance and warfare where each day was a challenge. This perpetual struggle for survival bred a resilient and militaristic population, always ready to defend against the odds. The relationship with the southern Greeks was complex. Macedonians considered themselves Hellenes, tracing their royal Argead dynasty back to Heracles and Argos, a claim eventually, if sometimes grudgingly, accepted by the arbiters of Hellenic identity at the Olympic Games. They participated in Greek religious festivals and admired Greek culture. However, the more civilized Southerners often viewed them as semi-barbarians, uncouth and politically backward due to their monarchical system, which contrasted sharply with the democratic or oligarchic ideals prevalent in cities like Athens or Corinth. This perception, however, often overlooked Macedon's strategic importance as a buffer state against barbarian incursions from the north. Throughout much of the 5th and early 4th centuries BCE, Macedon was often a pawn in the larger power struggles of the Greek world, sometimes allied with Athens, sometimes with Sparta. always seeking to maintain its own precarious independence. Internal strife was also common, with kings frequently assassinated or overthrown by ambitious relatives. This period of instability, however, was gradually coming to an end. A key figure in this transitional period was King Amyntas III, Alexander the Great's grandfather, who reigned, albeit with interruptions, from roughly 393 to 370 BCE. His reign was a microcosm of Macedon's challenges. He dealt with brutal Illyrian attacks that almost destroyed his kingdom, leading to his exile. He battled the Chalcidian League, a powerful confederation of Greek cities on Macedon's eastern flank, often with Athenian or Spartan support. Amyntas was a survivor, a shrewd diplomat who navigated these treacherous waters through alliances, marriages, and sheer tenacity. He managed to reclaim his throne and lay the foundations for a more stable and centralized state, even if that stability was hard-won and constantly tested. He fathered 3 legitimate sons who would each, briefly, rule: Alexander II, Perdiccas III, and the youngest, Philip II. Amyntas II's death in 370 BCE plunged Macedon back into a period of uncertainty. His eldest son, Alexander II, was assassinated after a short reign. The next son, Perdiccas III, also faced constant threats. It was during Perdiccas's reign that his youngest brother, Philip, was sent as a hostage to Thebes. This, as we shall see, would prove to be a pivotal moment, not just for Philip, but for the future of Macedon and the entire Greek world. So, as the 4th century BCE progressed, Macedon was a kingdom at a crossroads. It was a land of contrasts, rich in resources, yet often impoverished by war. Inhabited by a people of fierce courage, yet politically disunited. Culturally linked to Greece, yet often ostracized. It was a kingdom of mountains and warriors, its people hardened by a relentless environment and constant conflict. This was the crucible that forged the Macedonian character, a society where martial prowess was esteemed above all, where loyalty to a strong leader could unite fractious nobles, and where an inherent toughness and adaptability were essential for survival. The southern Greeks, preoccupied with their own intricate power games, largely underestimated this northern kingdom. They saw its rawness, its lack of sophisticated political discourse, its reliance on a primitive monarchy. They failed to see the coiled energy, the burgeoning military potential, and the deep well of ambition that lay within its rugged borders. The Macedonian spark was there, waiting for the right hand to fan it into a flame that would engulf the known world. And that hand, belonging to the son of Amyntas III, was already being shaped by experiences that would transform him into one of history's most formidable state builders. The stage was being set for the rise of a new power, a power that would not just dominate Greece, but would look far beyond its borders to the vast and wealthy Persian Empire in the east. The land itself, with its demanding climate and terrain, bred a resilient people, and their constant struggle for survival against formidable neighbors honed their military skills. This was the inheritance of Alexander the Great, a kingdom on the cusp of greatness, forged in the fires of adversity, and a people ready to follow a leader who could match their own inherent strength and ambition. The primitive Macedonian warrior spirit, born from necessity, was about to be unleashed upon an unsuspecting world. See you soon with the next episode of The Great Warrior. Until then, take good care of the environment around you. Make it a great day for yourself and those around you. Stay blessed always.